And for being here. We have with us Mr. Abid Gill. He's a Deputy Chief Advisor of Advancing Quality Alternative Learning project of JICA, which is ACAL. He has over 22 years of experience in social development sector in the field of education. He has worked with, say, various national and international organizations, UNICEF, UNESCO, and JICA included. It is in JICA that is currently in the management, and he has worked in all these places in advisory capacities and also in managing several projects with these organizations. Working with JICA, Abid Saab has successfully led reforms in educational reforms in Sindh, Punjab, Balochistan, and federal government, and he has enabled the policy to move towards towards a non-formal sector. So we are talking about how do we sort of increase the access of children who have been out of school or dropped out of school. So, and I thank you so much, Abid Saab, for joining us and accepting our invitation. We also, with me, co-moderating this session is Dr. Razia Sadiq, who will sort of help us in moderating the questions. Thank you, Razia, for being here. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Over to you, Abid Saab. Iska tarika yoga ke we'll invite you to talk for 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll follow it up with question answers. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sabha, for your invitation and talking to the colleagues and students of School of Education alums. As Dr. Sabha, you shared, I will today we'll discuss about what are the alternate or accelerated learning program as a alternate option for the out of school children, or how this can resolve the issue of which our country is facing. So we all know the crisis we are facing. So if I divide this crisis into two areas, with one is basically a huge number of population even cannot read and write. And the second challenge we are facing is the more than 22 million children, they are not in the school. Definitely there is a third crisis, those children who are in school, what they are learning. So that is also a big challenge, but today I will more focus on the illiterate and out of school children. Our situation, I just in the morning see some statistics or indicator. So the children, the adult who are over 15 years, I just compare what was the situation in 2015 and what is the situation now in terms of adult literacy rate. So we can see Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Iran, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, how they improved their literacy rate in the last 5 years. Bangladesh from 61 to 75, Bhutan 57 to 67, India from 69 to 74.4%, Iran from 85 to 96, Nepal 60 to 68, Sri Lanka 91 to 92.3. But unfortunately, Pakistan, we dropped previous our status, which was 60%, and now last year it was 58%. It's not just a percentage which we have dropped, but even the before this, traditionally our literacy rate was growing with the 0.9%, but the population growth was even faster than that. So it was 2.3%. So every year we are adding more illiterate in the society. So this is the challenge which we are facing, and it's clearly we can see basically the progress as compared to the other neighbor country. The other issue, definite overall literacy is a challenge, but main challenge is youth literacy. Again, if we compare ourselves with the neighboring country, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and India, their youth literacy rate is more than 90%. So in the region, only Pakistan, we should not compare with Afghanistan ourselves, but only Pakistan, which have around 70% the youth literacy rate. One fortunate situation is we have a bulk of youth in our country, but same time, if the youth is uh, like illiterate, so they will not have a much chances for the skill or to improve their productivity. So that youth is not a sort of a asset for us. They are the liability. So this is the very sad situation. So the other crisis which I shared is the number of out of school children. Similar to the literacy situation, we have not much progress in the out of school children challenge. It was 22.83 million in 2016-17. That is the official data which we have so far. After that, we have not published any official data, but there are some rough estimates. According to the population of 2017, the age group of 5 to 16 is increased from the 551 million to around it's a more than 55 million. So mean if we apply the same formula of taking out the out of school the overall population and then take out the in school children, so roughly there are 30 million, but that we cannot surely we cannot say because we don't have the official data. So if we see the right side, the children between the age of 5 to 9, they are just 5 million. But the major chunk of out of school children is between the 10 to 16-year age. So there are some efforts from the federal ministry and also the provincial ministries and departments and even private sector. Uh, but the efforts, the focus is more on the 5 to 9 year, adding more school, adding mission facilities, recruiting teachers. So we have some impact on out of school children of 5 to 9, but there's not much impact on the out of school children between the 10 to 16 because the allocation of resources for this age group is not much. Similarly, the girls are more of school children as compared to boys. So the gender disparity is there. So which make us in the overall global in the very poor condition. After Nigeria, we are the second largest out of school population country, and our this rank is really very very shameful for us in the 21st century with the digital era, with the knowledge economy. The country with this much out of school population is really a challenge. We all knows our constitutional obligation. We have Article 25A, which was added into the Constitution in 2010 when we introduced the 18th Amendment. So now education is the basic right. It's a fundamental right. So every child, state should provide them the basic and free education between 5 to 16. And also the Article 37B says all the like we have to remove the illiteracy and provide free compulsory secondary education with the minimum possible time. Our country made some international commitment like Agenda 2030 and also Sustainable Development Goal number 4, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning. MDGs we missed. Now world moved from the quantitative target to the qualitative goals. So we just saw a few slides which shows it's hard for us to achieve the goal 4 with this current pace and scenario. There are some commitment from the government to increase the allocation for the education. Uh, the GDP of like current allocation is just 2%, but countries like us must increase their GDP at least 4% to the education. We in the 2009 policy, there was a commitment for the government they will increase by 7%, but the scenario is not changed. So still we are around the 2% of allocation to the education GDP. If we little bit follow the trend which previous year we have, so maybe we need another 20, 30 years to reach at the target of 4%. So if the allocation of 4% we reach by like in 2042 or 43, if we follow the status quo and it's this marginally increases continue, then the target or commitment which we have now, we will fulfill in next 30, 40 years, which is not, I think, acceptable for anyone. And because it's not just literacy and out of school children population, it's about sustainable development of the country. So uh, if we miss the chance to achieve the quality education goal of SDG, so we cannot achieve uh, the health goal. We cannot achieve the clean drinking water, decent work, uh, poverty, hunger, gender equity, and all goal we will miss, because the goal 4, which is basic education and literacy, this goal is the foundation for all the goals. So if we miss this opportunity, mean we cannot achieve the goal of sustainable development. uh, so we cannot wait, in fact, uh, to achieve this allocation by the 4% of the GDP. We need to find some alternate means to achieve our education and literacy target. So I will introduce today the alternate option is uh, non-formal education or alternative learning pathway. Uh, we know there are 4 type of education learning like programs. Random learning, we learn every day without any intention. There are some informal learning which happen into museum or zoo or library or e-learning or all those places. But for the proper education, which is intentional, self-directed or family-directed and socially directed learning, is formal education, which is more understandable in Pakistan. But the non-formal education still is not much understandable in Pakistan. But other countries who progressed in this sector, like Bangladesh, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, all those countries actually, they focused same on the formal education and non-formal education to reach to everyone. So if we use in Pakistan non-formal education as a one of solid option for the overage children and also the illiterate, so we can achieve maybe our targets. So we need to understand non-formal education in the context of overall education learning process. Uh, we know informal learning is more contextualized. It can be decided at our own pace. We can decide everything. Uh, and formal education is not in, I'm talking about just a Pakistan. It's basically formal education is everywhere. It's a rigid because of their very strong systems. And many people call it decontextualized. The non-formal education is other name is like more context appropriate. So we need to see our context in Pakistan, and then we maybe apply this non-formal education according to that context to change our scenarios. We need to understand a little bit more about who are these out of school children. Uh, Overly people say there are children out of school because of the access, but that is not the only reason. The children out of schools, they are out of school because of the remoteness, because of the disaster. Pakistan being the second largest host country of refugees, there are many refugee children in our land, or even there are stateless children in Karachi in some part of Pakistan who are not in the school. Then culture barrier for girls, we know once the girls their age is like they grow, there is less chances to continue with education, because the distance become a challenge for them, because we don't have proper transportation system, and with absence of those transportation systems, it's a difficult for girls to continue their education. Minority groups have challenge. At the bottom, the poor economic background and working children, it's a big number. uh, the parents and children who belong to this poor background, for them education is not a first choice, because education not give them a guarantee of some economic development or social development. So they decide to go to the child labor or other means to improve their income. So we need to make education more like need based, or according to their economic and social need. Many children who come to education, but they feel it's not irrelevant or not interest, so they drop out. Children with disabilities and overage children, So this slide shows us there are many reasons of to school children. So if the reason of exclusions are many, our design should be inclusive enough to accommodate all these solutions. So the formal education cannot accommodate all these reasons and this diversity. So non-formal education, because of its nature, it's a flexible, can accommodate all these reasons. Recently, we conducted one study where we uh, interviewed around 300,000 out of school children across the country. It was a qualitative study. One interesting finding of this study, because we talk about those children who never been to school and those who are dropout, and we ask about the education of their parents. So we can see clearly if the parents are illiterate or less educated, there is a more chances of children are out of schools. So dropout children, if we see like no literate, non-literate parents, uh, they are like 60% mean, and those who never been to school, their parents are 79.4%. So mean if the parents are not literate or less educated, though chances is the children will not continue their education or maybe they are dropout. So there is a clear basically link between the literacy rate or education of the parents with the out of school children scenario. Another interesting, we asked the question to those who have never been to school or dropout, what they are interested to learn. So many of them said, we are interested to learn some accelerated learning or skill program, not just education. And they also said, we are interested to maybe some blended learning, which give us a basic education as well as some skill program. And the delivery modes for the dropouts, uh, we can say they are not interested in face to face because already they decided not to go to the school and they are dropout. And those who are never been to school, they also said we are interested in face to face, but there are other choices as well, maybe digital or tech based distance program or hybrid program or purely distance learning program. Uh, Another interesting was what is the preferred timing. So we can see those who are dropout, 11% said we want to learn in the morning time, and those who have never been to school, they said we are like 18.3%, and 20% said we are interested in morning. So the other learners, they shows their interest in the noon or evening or night. So mean formal education cannot accept them because their priorities and their availability is different. So we need a flexible range to accommodate these learners. So for this, we have a option of non-formal education as a solution to address the out-of-school children crisis. The non-formal education, which must recognize the prior knowledge, because the many children who have prior knowledge because of their social interaction and the self-learning, so and also relevant to the need of the target group, locally and culturally relevant and suitable, gender equitable and flexible in terms of timing, duration, course, teaching methods, and also provide a specific competencies. So the studies which like give us an idea what type of education the learners need. So the non-formal education or alternative learning pathway can be the solution because this covers all those area which they are demanding. So I'll unpack some solution which we developed along with our counterpart, the Federal Ministry of Education and all four provincial departments. So I divided this solution into three categories. Solution one is for those children who are out of school, but they are overage and they cannot be accepted by the formal education. So we designed a program which helped them to achieve the primary level education in 30 to 32 months. And after completion of this, they can go to the mainstreaming, they can continue there at elementary level, or they can even join the vocational program. So the equivalency model of this program is basically compared to the formal education, because in the traditional public formal education, it's a 6-year program which start from Kachi nursery grade 1 to grade 5. And as parallel to this, the program which we have developed is alternative or accelerated learning program. So this program can be achieved in 32 months, 30 to 32 months, with three package. Package A is equal to grade 1, package B is equal to grade 3, and package C is equivalent to grade 5. But it's not necessary every out of school child have to gone through this in 30 or 32 months. So we conduct a placement test or entry level assessment, and then can decide. Some learners maybe they need to skip package A and just directly go to the package B, and some maybe just skip package B and go to package C. So the duration can be even further reduced according to their prior learning and prior knowledge. Uh, so the second solution or option is basically extended learning program at elementary level or middle level. This program is for those children who completed their primary education. uh, Due to access and other reasons, they cannot join the formal education, and they are out of school for a few years. So they can complete their elementary education or middle education in 16 to 18 months, and then they can go to the continue to their education at secondary level, or they can go to the vocational education. So this slide is little complicated. I'll try to explain. So this slide have a two option. One is simple ALP middle, which they can go for a package D and E equivalent to grade 8. So package D is 6 and 7, and package E is equal to grade 8. But we also introduce a one new program, first time in Pakistan, first at federal level. Now Sindh government approved this program, and we are hopeful other provincial government will also follow this program, which we call it middle tech. So many children, they are not interested only in education, general subject. They want to learn some vocational skill to improve their economic condition. So for them, we designed this program. So this 18-month program will offer them a core subject, Urdu, English, Math, Social Study, and Islamiyat or religious education, these five subjects, and then they can take any skill from these 13 so far skills curriculum which we have: tourism, hospitality, livestock, agriculture, Internet of Things, graphic designing, electrician, plumber, HVAC, or tailoring. So at package D level, they can take level 1 of the National Vocational Qualification Framework, and package E, they can take level 2. So once they complete this, they will earn a dual certification. One will lead toward the vocational side, so they can go to the further skill program of any TVET programs of level 3, or they can go for employability, or they can even continue for the secondary education. Uh, so the how we actually reduce the time and make it more like on the faster track. So we did on the uh, with the integration. So there is a vertical integration, and then there is a horizontal integration. In the vertical integration, we follow, we club the learning outcome into uh, uh, a different package, not a grade system. And those learning outcomes which are close to each other, we merge them, and some are basically we have deleted. So the burden reduced up to 70% through the vertical integration. But interesting thing which we done is the horizontal integration, where we uh, took three subjects as a core subject, and then science, Islamiyat, and social study we integrated with these subjects, so which help us to reduce the time and also learn some activity based learning. I'll give one example of this, our integration. So this is from the package A, the Urdu book. Every actually chapter start with one picture. So right side we can see a picture like poda or plants. पौधे कितनी तरह के होते हैं हमारे surrounding में or in the household, what type of plants we can see, and then some exercises, basically what we can get from plants. So the teachers can do some exercises in the classroom, and some maybe role play. अगर पौधे को पानी, हवा और रोशनी ना मिले तो क्या होगा, अगर ये चीजें मिले तो किस तरह से वो ग्रो करेंगे. एंड देन through phonics they learn basically poda, how to read and write, and what are the sounds of this poda. So once they completed one chapter, they actually not learn how to read and write poda, which was the learning outcome of Urdu, but they also learn the learning outcome of general science and social study. So 13, 14 learning outcome they can achieve once they completed this poda. So this is how we integrated this, and we also try to add some value to make it more creative, like they can improve the creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and cooperation. And it's a more conceptual based, not just a memorizing, which is usually in the formal education we use. Last and third solution is basically for those who cross their age of 16 year, and they cannot come to the education anymore. So for them, we designed a program which is start from 6 months to 12 months. So they earn the certificate of literacy and life skill and vocational skill, and then further they can continue to any vocational program, or they can go for a some better jobs. So this program also we use the integration. So far we developed a 3 integrated curriculum: masonry, agriculture, and livestock, where we pick the technical part from these relevant skills and incorporated to a Urdu and Sindhi primers, where they learn their vocational skill as well as the life skills. So once they complete this program, they can earn a certificate of basic literacy, numeracy, life skill, and vocational skills of level 1. So for all these programs, challenge was basically how to recognize these programs and validation and accreditation. So for this purpose, we realized we need a proper legal backup through the legislation. So we worked on the developing a non-for education policies for the Balochistan, Sindh, Punjab, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is still in the process, and we are also working on the developing a non-formal education act to make it give them a proper legal backup, develop the curriculum, social mobilization, MNE system, data management, equivalency, and accreditation mechanism. So through this, we make this program as a viable option, which is not just a low grade or just a low option, but equivalent option with a even better learning outcome. So thank you very much. If you have any question, please welcome.
Thank you so much, Abid Saab. Excellent work, very impressive. Thank you for sharing with us. And I will open the floor for questions. लेकिन इससे पहले जब तक सब लोग कुछ क्वेश्चंस आ भी गए हैं चैट में, और रजिया से, डॉक्टर रजिया सादिक से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि वो जरा उसमें देख लें. मेरे आपसे 2 क्वेश्चंस हैं ओवर हियर. नंबर 1 इज कि डू यू हैव योर ओन स्कूल्स, और ओन किस तरह से ऑफर कैसे करते हैं आप ये कोर्सेज? एक ये बात थी, और दूसरी बात आपसे ये थी कि इसका स्केल क्या है इन डिफरेंट उसमें. These are the 2 questions.
Oh, thank you very much. Actually, JICA being a bilateral organization, we are supporting the government to set up these programs. So in Pakistan, there are different organizations or department who are dealing the non-formal education. In Punjab, we have a separate department. We call it Literacy Non-Education Department Punjab. In Balochistan, there is a social welfare department, and under social welfare, there is a directorate of literacy non-education. In Sindh, under the school education literacy department, there is a one directorate. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, there is a different arrangement. They call it Elementary Secondary Education Foundation, who is dealing this like a subject. And at federal level, we have 3 organizations: National Commission for Human Development, National Education Foundation, and BECS, Basic Education Community School Program. So we are working all these government agencies to develop the system so they can offer this. So we don't open our own school. We just open for a pilot to test all these items, and then we hand over to the government and also the development partners. So far in Pakistan, all these government agencies and the development partners, which include UNICEF, UNESCO, World Bank, ILO, UNHCR, USAID, so they are implementing these programs, and the scale or scope so far is around 1.2 million children are enrolled in these programs, and the number of the non-formal institutes are about 40,000 across the country so far. But still, there are many programs in the pipeline under the JICA grant as well as the other like development partners grants. So we are expecting this will be go on a bigger scale in next maybe couple of months, these programs.
Thank you so much. Amazing work. Ji, open for questions.
Ji, sure. Thank you, Dr. Tayeba. Thank you, Abid Saab. So we already have some questions in the chat. So the first question was from Madiha. It was earlier on. She's asking, it would be helpful to know the source of the data. So Madiha, we're not sure which data specifically you are asking about. So would you like to speak up, please?
I was wondering what the source was used to mention the out of school children wala jo data tha na, in the first few slides where it was mentioned that 10 to 16-year-old ka ek specific number hai jo ki out of school hai, and for primary that.
The data source of first slide was basically the APAM, Academy of Education Planning and Management. This is the institute under the federal ministry, which is deal the data and statistics for the education. So the report which last they have published was 2016 and 17. But unfortunately, after that, we don't have the data of auto school children. I've just quoted that last report. But as I said, the situation is now changing, and COVID also make it more even worse. So there is just an idea, a rough estimate. The children's number is more than what I have mentioned in that slide.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have two questions from Aruj. One is that, is there any skill towards which students are more inclined? And then the second question is, why can't ALPs run in parallel with the formal education system in schools? Depending upon the aptitudes of students, they may be directed towards ALP.
So thank you. For first question, actually, it's depend on the area regarding this skill. But traditionally, when we ask the girls which skill you want to have, so the girls usually they want to have the like beautician or fashion designing or dressmaking, like these skills. And the boys, they ask for electrician, plumbing, or those type of skills. So we actually try to give them more option, and through the sensitization or orientation, because they don't have exposure much about the skills. So we conducted a countrywide skill assessment where we try to learn from the business sector and what type of skills required in those areas and what is the interest of those girls or boys in those skills. And we identify so far 23 skills. But from those list of those 23 skills, we come up with the 13 skills as a first phase, which is hotel industry, tourism management, Internet of Things, agriculture, livestock. All these skills are not traditionally offered by the most of the TVET programs. So now we are starting, we are going to offer this state from the May. And in the phase 2, we will add more skills. So now once we give them the more options, they are selecting these need-based skills. So your second question was about, can it be a parallel to the formal education? Yes. We have one example from the Federal Directorate of Education in Islamabad. So they started ALP program in their own schools, like federal schools by the Federal Ministry. And they started these classes, some schools in the morning and some school in the evening and afternoon. So many children who are overage and they cannot come to the regular schools, they joined this school, the classes, and within maybe a shorter time, they can be the mainstream into the same school. तो उनके लिए एक बेहतर चॉइस और ऑप्शन है, और हम इसको एडवोकेट बाकी जगहों पे भी कर रहे हैं कि हमारे पास पब्लिक बिल्डिंग बहुत थोड़े टाइम के लिए यूज होती है, फॉर जस्ट 5-6 आवर्स. So if we use this public school in the afternoon or evening for overage children or illiterate, we can reduce a lot of our resources, and this can help maybe many children to have one more option for the education. So thank you very much.
By the time I think more questions will come. ये बताइए Avid sir, I was just curious about teacher education. Do you have special, centers where you give specific education to your teachers? या ये वही public school के teachers हैं?
Thank you. Actually, this is interesting question, and for this, I think we need a support from a School of Education as well, because the human source is very critical. If we are now introducing a new approach or methodology or alternate system, we need a different teacher. As I said, the teaching methodology which we are using in this non-formal education is entirely different than the formal education. So the formal education teacher cannot teach in this type of situation. We tried on some cases, but unfortunately, it was not very successful. So far, the arrangement for the teachers training or getting teacher is we just take a graduate or like intermediate boys and girls from the fresh from the local area, and then we have a teachers training complete mechanism. We have seven standards for those professional standard for the non-for teachers, and on the basis of those standards, we develop their capacity. We run a 1 week induction program, and then there are some refresher courses and continuous professional development program, which enable those young boys and girls to be a teacher in the non-education sector. We did some advocacy with the Allama Iqbal University to introduce one certificate program in non-formal education. So from last 2 years, they have introduced this certificate program, and we are advocating like all the education institute, including your stream organization, to introduce one module maybe or one certificate, so we can have a more like the students coming with the proper understanding of non-formal education, and they can work or serve to this sector.
Thank you so much. Nushe, I think, wanted to ask a question, and then over to Razia. Sorry, Razia.
Firstly, thank you so much for such an incredible presentation. It was it was a joy for me to watch, especially for someone who's like passionate about the out-of-school children cause. My question was that we can also see the disparities between provinces, right, of out-of-school kids. So we know that the out-of-school children in Punjab has significantly decreased over decades as opposed to Sindh and Balochistan. And we can also see that, there's like 77% of these out-of-school kids are in the rural areas. So my question, I'm just curious to know that what's the process of really identifying these children who are out of school? What's that process like? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I agree. There is a disparity, and interesting. Like if you go to the Balochistan, the out-of-school children in Balochistan, they are more than 70% between the age of 5 to 16. But the number of out-of-school children in Balochistan is 1.9 million. So the children in Punjab, they are like, as a percentage, we have more children in school. But if we see the numbers, so in Punjab, more than 10 million children are out of school only in Punjab. So there is a disparity among the provinces, and as well as rural, urban, gender as well. So the identification of those out of school children is, for that we introduced one tool, we call it NFEMIS. It's a non-formal education management information system. So this system have a 4 module. One is planning module, other is implementation, then monitoring and evaluation, and assessment module. So in the planning module, we have a household survey tools. So we conduct that into a rural area, and on the basis of that, we know how many children are out of school, how many in the age of the formal education, or how many cannot go to the formal education and they need alternate learning or a non-formal education. So we help them to develop a local level of education plan, so they can decide on the basis of evidence which type of learners should go into which joint program. Someone maybe just skill programs, some ALP primary, elementary, or some can go to formal education. So this is the way how we identify the learners, and for this we have a complete community mobilization strategy, and through the local volunteer, through lady health workers, and through the formal teachers and other like some resources, we collected this data, and then on the basis of data, we helped the government to plan according to the need of the area, rural areas where there is more out-of-school children. We should have a more program for to offer them according to the need of that area.
Thank you so much. Raja, are you there?
Sure, I was just waiting for the prompt. So we have a question from Vajiha. She's saying, could you please share whether any role for commercial/private sector collaborations are envisioned to establish linkages with industries that may employ students graduating from the NFE programs?
Yeah, thank you. This is again very interesting. There are two type of basically relationship with the industry regarding this program. Number one, we need support from the industry as a CSR. Uh, uh, as I said, the allocation to the education is very low, and we cannot see in the near future like that allocation will be increased. So we need to find some alternate resources for the education, and especially for the non-formal education, because non-formal education get just 1% of the education budget. So very, very less budget. So the CSR, if we are advocating to the industry to allocate their CSR for next 5 years to this sector. So this sector can be come up with a many maybe a quick or accelerated way to achieve the education challenge of this country. Second, we have the relationship with the industry is more like public-private partnership. And the third is, our industry is facing the skilled labor. I will give the example of one industry, this fire group of this industry. One of their industry in Shekhupura district, they were facing a challenge to get the certification of ISO. Condition was their employees was not illiterate. So they cannot read the mission statement, they cannot read the occupation safety health and those things. So they always the ISO certification was declined because they cannot fulfill this need. So we worked with them, and they provided a literacy skill to all their employees and some relevant vocational skills. And within 3.5 months, they were able to achieve that certification. So the industry of Pakistan need a skilled labor, and to gain the skill, we need a basic literacy and some basic education. So if our industry have to grow, they have to collaborate us to get a better like a working force, like Bangladesh did. Bangladesh opened in every street the non-formal education school in every village, and skill literacy and skill center. Now we can see the industry of Bangladesh, how they are growing. Their garments industry is the second largest export after the China, and other industries also growing. So this is very critical, the relationship between the industry and this sector, and we need to build on further so we can give them one of the critical requirement of HR in Pakistan.
Thank you. So there are 3 parts to the next question, which is from Maliha, and she's asking, I would like to know how the ALP programs are being imparted. Second part is, what is the platform being used? And the third part is, how are they catering to children who are employed?
Yeah, the first is basically traditionally model of non-formal education in Pakistan or ALP is in the local area, just a community provided one room, then the local teacher, and 30 to 35 learners. So this is the traditional model which we have, and most of the non-formal or ALP schools follow this model. But now we recently introduced some other options, one hybrid model where we have a combination of distance as well as some face-to-face model. This is we are using, and with the collaboration of Islamic University, we are also offering this from the Maya to a big scale, so we can access to the more children. And we are also exploring special at middle level using the technology and digital option for a self-learning and also a distance model. And as earlier I said, using the formal education spaces or any other government buildings available in afternoon, that also an option to offer the ALP and non-formal education program. So your second question, can I?
Second question was, what is the platform being used? And the third was, how are they catering to children who are employed?
So currently there are two type of platform. One is the government agencies. As I said, there are every province have some department who is responsible for ALP and non-formal education. And through our program, we are strengthening those organizations through the restructuring, adding more technical positions in those organizations, and expanding their role from the provincial to district and local level. The other platform organizations are supported by the development sectors. We have many development, so far 11 international partners or development partners are implementing their program. So what they do, basically, they recruit some local NGO or any private organization, and they set up their field level programs, and then they start opening the ALP non-education programs. So this is basically how they are providing through the like non-formal education structure which they create under these project or program, which is time bound. Once this project is completed, they will be finished. So your third question is regarding the employed children and working children. So there are two type of model for the working children or employed. Number one is we have a workplace literacy and education model, which we tested in few of the places. So we opened a class within that working place, so they can continue their work and also join their learning classes within their area. And the second is in the same cluster of those industries or area where they work, one place is dedicated for those children on the flexible timing and flexible mode. One example I gave recently from the Multan, where the Multan School Education Department, they open a early morning school. This school start at 8 in the morning and finish at 10 a.m. So after 10 a.m. they can go to their work, because many businesses started after 10. So they don't need to compromise their work, and they can also learn the basic education through this program. And the third, which will be not at much basically started, but in the near future we can have option, is the distance mode, where they can learn through the digital gadgets or digital program. We are digitalizing all our this program to make it interactive and distance-based program. So they can take at their own pace, their own time, and according to their flexibility, they can join this program. So these are the so far three type of solution for the working children under this ALP non-education.
Thank you, Abid Saab. The next question is from Maham. She asks, can the fidelity of this intervention be compromised if one tends to exceed the duration of a package or the whole ALP program?
Yes, actually, we have sort of a some minimum duration of the package. For example, as I said, the package A is the 8-month, package B again 8-month, and package C 12 to 14 months. But it's not a very fixed, because if we fixed it, it will be again happen like a formal education. So we are not following the rigidity of that. I will give the example of one of our school in Karachi. There is a big Bengali community in Karachi, and also Rohingya children are there. Those are out of school children. So they joined this program, and we designed it package A for 8 months. But many of the children, they completed in a 4 or 5 month package A. So because of their prior learning and prior knowledge, their mental mathematics was even higher than the primary graduate children, because they daily do some business. They purchase some potato, boil it, sell it, save some money, reinvest. So these type of operation they already know. So those children, even they completed their program in shorter duration. And some of the children, they are facing to complete even with the 8 month. So for them, we started designing a remedial program. So through that remedial program, they can, with this support, they can complete that programs and maybe follow the same duration which is designed for this program.
Thank you. So two more questions.
Just one more clarity. Actually, usually the examination or certification in the formal education, they announce once a year. So all the children who reach to that level on that year, they can specific month they can participate in exam, and then they can complete education. So we introduced a new examination and certification system. We call it the fees non-formal education and assessment system. So the learners who are any organization, for example, the 20 learners are ready to in this month, so they can request the government so they can appear in exam and they can earn the certificate. They don't need to wait for another 6 months or 1 year to be a certified. So they can go for any time for examination and certification. So that helped them to continue their education in a more faster track.
So there are two questions again from Aruj, and one is that how has the participation of students from religious minorities been in ALP? That's one. The second one is there any content related to the citizenship education in the ALP curriculum?
Yes, both actually, as in one of my earlier slide I show, the reason of out of school children, there are many religious minorities group, they cannot join the formal education because of some differences, and the maybe the acceptance is challenged both sides. So for them, we designed this program at their doorstep. So they can be access to this program at their doorstep, and they don't need to be like worried about going somewhere else and facing some criticism and other problems. Second, we try to make it, earlier there was only for the Muslim children Islamiyat, and so if they have to, the alternative was ethics. So now we are following the religious education for the Christian or Hindu or Buddhist and other the religion's children, so they can be comfortable to learn their own religion and they can get more attraction. And the second question was the citizenship in the this education. We introduced life skills at the primary level as well as elementary and adult literacy. So under this life skills, they learn the citizenship, they learn their basic rights and responsibilities, they learn basic health hygiene, home management, access to basic systems and facilities, and these type of skills we have included. So they not only learn the basic just general subject, but also all these even climate related sensitization and education is a part of that life skills component.
Thank you. There is a question from Usman, which I'm not fully clear on, but I guess he's asking about how the children from the ALP, the students from the ALP program will be mainstreamed in the long run. As Usman, would you like to speak up and ask your question? It might be clearer that way.
Yeah, I just want to know that once the students go through the exams process that you have made and got their certifications, or how they will be mainstreamed into the for the opportunities in mainstream education and also for the jobs and professional career. So how they will be equal to the students like the other students. The main theme of all this ALP program is to bring the equal opportunities actually. So,
thank you, Usman. Yes, actually, one of the criticism of non-formal education everywhere is basically to earn a proper certificate or equivalent certificate. So this was one of the very much focus area under our program. As I said, we worked on the policy development. So in 3 provinces, the policy is developed by the approved by the cabinet, which clearly give the basically equivalency program is covered under that policy, and also under the curriculums as well. Now, as the single national curriculum was introduced, so we aligned our ALP and non-education curriculum with the single national curriculum. So the learners who are joining this program, they should not be deprived from a proper certificate. So there are equivalency program within the grade level. For example, a child joined a ALP program at primary package A. It's not necessary they should continue up to package C. Even they can, after the package A, they can go to the grade 2 of the formal education, and they can get a proper certificate, and formal education accepted that certificate, because that equivalency notification is reached to all the formal education institutions. So it's mentioned if the learners achieved a package A, B, or C, so in which grade they should be enrolled. So this is one. They can go to the formal anytime, or from the formal they can come to the non-formal or ALP program anytime. So this clear equivalency mechanism help them to cross the sector, basically to move around. And once they completed this program, this certificate have an equal weightage. The external examination give them the chance to earn a equal certificate for the employability, or even go to the skill program or any vocational program. And so that certificate acceptable across the country, because we have now integrated this curriculum and skill program, and with the NAVTEC, with the TEFTAs, so that will be acceptable to everyone in the job market as well as in the continuity of education programs.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
In the chat, but it's up to you. Over to you, Taiba.
Thank you so much, Razia. I think it's 6 o'clock, and we shouldn't keep Abid Saab for so long. So I would like to thank Abid Gill Saab for all the amazing work that you are doing, and thank you for the excellent presentation and sort of bearing with our questions. There were so many questions coming in, and thank you all. Thank you students. Thank you faculty for being here and asking those thought-provoking questions. We'll get back to you. आपको फिर से invite करेंगे इंशाल्लाह जैसे नया cohort आता है. और बहुत शुक्रिया आने का. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And just at the end, I want to request, because as I said, this sector needs more like a critical human resource, and we need to create more evidence to this, like programs are more successful, and we need a collaboration of institute like School of Education learns. So I'm very happy to be the part of this like initiatives, and we will be interested to have more interaction with your department to expand these programs and as a viable and workable options. Thank you very much.
We'll get back to you. We'll have more discussions around it. And already I'm getting these requests for your slides. आप slides अपनी हमारे से share कर लीजिएगा, audience wants.
I'll send it to you. Sure.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you everyone. Thank you Razia ji. Thank you. Yes.